Washington, I'm Larry O'Connor. We are a nation in debt. You know that already. It's really how much more debt we're going to go in. Well, the debt ceiling fights are among us. We're right in the middle of it. And as you know, we've been tracking Republicans' efforts to put together a budget and spending proposals and a deal to handle the debt ceiling problem as it's fast approaching. And our go-to guy on that topic, all those topics, Kevin Hern, congressman from the 1st District in Oklahoma, and also the chairman of the Republican Study Committee. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Great to be with you.
All right, should we start with debt? What's happening now with the debt ceiling negotiations? Is the White House even picking up the phone when you try to talk about this? And is the Senate on board with whatever you're trying to accomplish?
Well, let's just say they've moved closer to coming to the table. President Biden has refused to talk to Speaker McCarthy over the last 75 days, and it's just simply uncalled for. Doing nothing gets you $31.5 trillion in debt, plus another $2, $3, $4 trillion in debt, and no spending cuts. And what the speaker's been doing, working with all of us over the last 90 days now, 95 days, is to get a deal put together that the Democrats will have to come together. And now what you're seeing are the Democrats in the Senate and the House telling the president he needs to engage with Speaker McCarthy.
I'm told that there are some Democrats on the Senate side who are very frustrated with the White House, and they've actually made some overtures saying, guys, you got to talk. You've got to actually move the ball down the path. Do you trust the Democrats over there in the Senate?
I don't know if I trust the Democrats in the Senate. I trust the American people. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, inflation has hit everyone. And I think what you're seeing are senators, certainly Democrat members and Republican members, for that matter, people who are out talking to their constituents are saying enough of the inflation, enough of the high interest rates, enough of the gas being out of control, enough of the energy costs, the food costs. And so what's happening now, you're starting to see the American people speak up, and they see this opportunity to get our economy back on the right track and lower the interest rates. And the only way you're going to do that is to start cutting spending. And all this spending that's been put in place by the Biden administration over the last 2 years, some $10 trillion, we're talking about trying to cut right at half of that, so that we save America's future for all of our kids and grandkids.
Lest we spend all our time bashing Democrats, Congressman Hern, I got to ask, does Speaker McCarthy, do you have all the Republican votes you need in the House on this?
Well, you'd like to have 222 Republicans and plus a handful of Democrats. The reality is, I'm sure, as we've been reading and we've been hearing and talking to the leadership, they've been working through the weekend. Back about 12th of April, I put out a letter to the Republican Study Committee members, 175, that I texted a letter to personally, saying, laying out why it's important to do the things we just described, get our spending under control, and that we needed to work night and day until we get this passed and get it passed where we're back in session. And I will say this to the Speaker and to all of our leadership and to all of our Republican conferences, that's what's been going on. I know the Speaker has been working with his team all through the weekend. We've had calls night and day. I've been answering calls, to the wee hours of the night and early times of the morning about what we have to do in certain parts of this debt limit deal. And I would bet you that when this goes to the floor tomorrow, as the Speaker has described, that he will have the votes where we need to be.
This vote for tomorrow would raise the limit to $1.5 trillion, is my understanding. Is there any connection, that debt limit increase, is there a connection there to a full-blown budget process going forward then? Because you had said right here on this program, Congressman Hern, you don't want to raise this debt increase unless you're already working toward the new budget and the new spending plan.
Yeah, so everything we do in this debt limit will be a segue and key components of the budget as we go forward. And spending, obviously, getting the spending cuts, we're talking about $1.5 trillion that will go either to the end of March next year, end of first quarter in 2024, or when that expires, in other words, when that $1.5 trillion is hit, is paramount to get to a balanced budget sooner rather than later. If you look at what's being proposed here, it's between about $4.5 and 4.5, $4.6 trillion over the next decade. Obviously, that is huge in balancing our budget, taking our debt to GDP from about 106% down to 106%. Otherwise, it'd be around 130% of the public debt. held by debt to GDP in the next decade. That's a huge change for the American people. That's a huge relief of the burden of the debt that, again, our kids that come after us and grandkids are going to have to pay.
You know,
And
I'm told in the media, especially television, that you don't lead with debt and budgets and spending. But frankly, I find it kind of important, Congressman Hern. Let's flip over to a more sexy topic. You've introduced a piece of legislation called the Work Not Woke Bill. Lay this out for me. What's the Work Not Woke Bill?
Well, since Joe Biden has come into office, the word woke has gained a new amount of energy that none of us have seen in certainly our lifetimes. And what Governor DeSantis has said about Florida, this is where woke goes to die. And we want to see the same thing happen in the federal government. Right now, Joe Biden and his administration has basically said that based on where you're born, who you're born to, what the color of your skin is, you have no hope in America to achieve. And basically, they are appalled by a guy like me that grew up very poor in the Ozark Mountains of Arkansas, no running water, no indoor plumbing. They would tell that kind of person today, like me, to say that you don't have a chance of being anything in life. You're just dealt a bad lot unless the federal government comes in and helps you and gets you on the federal government assistance, then you're just going to be unsuccessful. And unfortunately, we've got bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. that this is the best job they've ever had. So they want to make sure everybody knows that and hears that. And for me personally, I look at this as an opportunity to give back. And so it's appalling to me, quite frankly, that they would say a guy like me has no chance of ever being successful in this great country, which is the very reason I ran. That's why we put this bill forth.
Well, of course, Congressman Hern, that any chance you had to succeed was cemented with your white privilege. So, let's check that for a moment. What does Work Not Woke do? Does it suspend these federal operations that are so divisive, the DEI training and all of the various agencies? What are you hoping to achieve with this?
Yeah, peeling back the money that's being spent, basically in our military and the government, saying again that you can't achieve anything. We're spending literally billions of dollars that are in each of the bills that the president has put forth and Democrats have supported under Speaker Pelosi's reign, peeling those back, bringing that money back in. It's about having our federal government actually working for the people in a nonpartisan way, as opposed to looking and describing someone, again, based on their skin color, how they should be acting.
Well, and these two are related topics because, listen, we're borrowing money that we don't have. We're borrowing money our grandchildren probably don't have at a time when we're going into debt and our spending is through the roof. It's not like we have a bunch of money lying around to spend on this kind of thing that ends up dividing us anyway, Congressman.
Well, when you also look at the money that's been spent on our higher education, we hear about companies and federal government entities that are spending literally, tens of billions of dollars in each state just to hire, 2 or 3, 4 staff members in a small department to look at DEI issues in every university across America. Something, again, that's just been stood up, and that's part of all the spending problems we're having, and we're going to rein every bit of that in with this bill. DEI
jobs and HR jobs and watchdog jobs, it might be the only jobs that this president has created, but they don't actually produce anything. All right, Congressman Hern, the vote is tomorrow. Are you going to call your shot? Do you have the votes that's passing?
We do.
All right, there you have it. We like definitive answers from Congressman Kevin Hern. Thanks for joining us. There's more to come on O'Connor Tonight. You're watching Salem News Channel.